You know, I cannot be here without my wife and kids' support.
I've learned a lot about nature. I've learned a lot about my history. I've learned a lot about the gracious space.
Space. It creates gracious space for everybody who comes there.
We shouldn't forget this
We
experience.
learned something about our souls.
That was like so cool. That was like so cool to me.
They really opened my mind.
To experience it through a lens of like learning about my family, about the country, whichever country I visited. So it brought me here.
In the heart of West Africa, educators from Ghana and the United States come together to learn. This is a journey of history, culture, and human connection, an experiential program that bridges continents and hearts through the power of education.
The first thing that moved me was the welcome, just the open welcome of the Ghanaian teachers and people who didn't know us from anyone, and they were just like, welcome.
The journey begins in Accra, where Ga priests invoke ancestral blessings. Each participant is welcomed to the ancestral land of the Ga people. Each participant is asked to invite the spirit of a loved one to join the circle and to help bless them. Here also, teaching is sacred work, an offering to both the living and the spirits of those who came before us.
Being asked to speak to my ancestors, who I hadn't really connected with until that time, and I sent my mom a message and I said, "You're not going to believe this, but your mother was here with me last night, and I never met her, but she was." I said, I feel like she had something to do with my being here.
I feel like I'm leaving with confidence. This past year, I had a lot of questions about my identity and who I am, especially when you're teaching kids about the transatlantic slave trade. I was just like, it was down, it was weighing on me. So I just had questions and I was confused, and I'm like, who am I? Like, we're doing identity work with children and I don't even know who I am.
Honestly, I didn't have a perception. I feel like because I never been to Africa, honestly. And my cousin just kept telling me like because like our family's from Cape Verde, like I love that you're going to Africa because like you'll see how like Ghana is not very different than Cape Verde and stuff like that. Like so no, but I didn't know like it was gonna look like this.
In Ghana, every journey begins with a welcome. For teachers from Ghana and the United States, this was more than a trip.
But when I was in high school, I learned about Africa in the context of slavery. I didn't learn about what the continent of Africa was like before until I was in college, and it wasn't from a class. It was just like self-research and like wanting to know.
When I first did this, I thought, oh, we're gonna learn a lot about history, culture, and going to museums and doing all these things. And as time went on, it became much more personal. But I didn't know how personal it would become.
Witness Tree has allowed me to grow as Kristen the teacher and Kristen the human.
I want to change people's perception about me, that she is just a small person, she's just a student teacher. I want to prove people wrong, that I can do it, and I want to prove myself wrong. So I think I've been able to achieve that in many ways.
The first thing that struck me was I remember we were going down the street, we were driving to the hotel, and I just saw all these billboards, and on all the billboards, there were Black people. And I was like, oh, this must be really beautiful to see representations of yourself wherever you go. That was the first thing I thought of. I was expecting to be able to connect with other educators. I really wanted to get a feel for the difference between schools in the States and schools here.
After watching Professor Kofi Asare-Poku's video on African identity and spirituality, I have come to learn to appreciate that I am an African and I need to embrace whom I am.
That's my grandfather, my father's side.
There's also the possibility of kind of cultivating empathy.
I really love those two workshops. They really opened my mind, because we as Ghanaians, storytelling is something normal, but storytelling is not just telling a story and then that's all. Yes, the significance of why you are telling a story and what you want the person listening to you to achieve from the story you are telling to that person. Yeah.
The tiger was in the hole for 4 days. No food, no water. On the 5th day, down there, the tiger heard some noises up. So he shouted, "Who is there? Please help me." Ladies and gentlemen, it was the antelope.
I have learned a lot. In fact, things that were close to me, things that were around me that I didn't appreciate. Through this program, I've been able to learn a lot. I said it the other time in one of our meetings that I think after university, I've never learned anything in my life more than what I've done throughout this period. It's been just 2 weeks, but what I've learned, sometimes I want to even compare it with my entire life. So as a headmaster of my school, I've planned that when I go back, I'll impart all this knowledge that I've learned onto the younger generation, so that at least if one or two of them pick, they will also impart, and that's the only way that can save us.
Professor Pash, or talking about spirituality and religion. My yet say, oh yeah, Bibiana ye, because Uba be ancestor to someone. None make her say, make I say me mammy a free mono. Not telling me mammy, me uncle Susan. Now, I be a miss who said them soon, but maybe share about spirituality and religion. Maybe who say there is still connection, they are no more, but on my ancestors, still there is connection between me and you. My bedjats would say they are not gone forever. They are still with us.
You know, when we had the lecture on education, they talked about how they're trying to incorporate the traditional Ghanaian culture into schools. We also kind of experience what that culture is through the Ghanaian teachers.
To ensure that we don't feel drained.
I think it is very beautiful. The spoken word piece we listened to as we sat down and entered really set the tone for how sacred and important the work that the artist is doing. He's able to convey his the emotions of his sculptures through his work is incredible, and those sculptures are able to tell stories without speaking.
But there was like this quiet beauty, and later it was so awesome we got to talk to the artist, and I asked him, how could you create such a place of peace at such a terrible experience? And one of the things he told us was you can't heal, you can't bring about change from a place of anger. You have to get to a place of peace, and from that peacefulness you can then move forward to change. And so
So the first thing that I noticed was that when we do a lot of singing and dancing, as like a white person, we don't do that a lot. And so that initially really pushed me out of my comfort zone. And I was very moved by how natural the dancing and the laughter came to the Ghanaians, and how in tune they seem with their mind and their body and their heart. And for me, that was something that kind of started to weave into like every aspect of this experience, was just how interconnected these pieces are for me. And for me, if I look at my mind, heart, and body, they are not connected. They are disunited. And so how do you shift those things to align them and unite them?
She just asked herself, can I do this? Yes, you can. Not just this. I like all us to vocalize it goes this way. Then toto eja. Then toto eja. Then toto eja. Ready? Together. We go. Then beautiful again. Make it nicer. Add the bass treble to it. Oh, I'm getting.
The dance workshop, right? One of the things, as I told Sal, I wanted to do is just let go and live, right? And be in the moment and enjoy. And that workshop right there was all about being present, being in the moment, and just let my energies just go. And I really, really enjoyed that. I like to incorporate it in my classroom as well, right? But I'm learning to live and let go, So.
The kids over there, like I had asked them, when you come to school sad, like what do you do? And it's funny because none of them responded. So I was like, do you guys come to school sad? And they was like, no. So I was just so shocked. Like, I know like we're in a different country, but it's like everyone has feelings. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like you could come to school sad because like you couldn't, like mom couldn't bring you to school, or like you wasn't able to eat breakfast or something.
I think professionally, I've had an opportunity to see the really hard parts of my curriculum come to life.
A circle is round, it has no end. That's how I want to be your friend.
My students had written letters to them, so I got to see what they were writing in the letters back to my students. And it was really interesting to see how much pride they had in their country and how they were so proud of like Ghana's history. And also they spoke about like loving school and how much they love their teachers.
I feel like in the States, I have to work so hard to get the attention of the students. It's so much work to get their attention collectively. And this was so different because they were all paying attention to me.
The idea of coming to Witness Tree for us was to incorporate what we learn into the curriculum that we have at Bright Minds Academy, especially when it comes to like hands-on learning, experiential learning. So tomorrow's the last day of Witness Tree, and we're going to meet for 4 days, and we're going to work on this curriculum and see where we can get for our August training and see where it goes from there, so I can report back.
To question our school curriculum. After the trip, I started questioning what we teach our students and how that fits into the current problem that Nigeria as a country is facing. So are we teaching our students to become problem-solving students so that they can solve problems that are unique to us, or we are just teaching them things that they might not need? The project that has been generated as a result of my visit to Ghana is we facilitated a teacher's training, and a session of that training was a project that I took part in that was inspired by my trip to Ghana, which is taking out everything we know about education and redesigning our education system.
In the royal courts of Kumasi and Akropong, tradition breathes through every drumbeat. The group witnesses Akwesidai, a festival of ancestors, royalty, and renewal. From these courts, the group learns that true leadership, whether of a nation or a classroom, begins with respect, heritage, and service.
It was like I had walked into this other world, this world of a storybook, but it wasn't a storybook, it was real.
From the beginning, when we first went to greet the king, I was looking at how everyone was dressed in like coordinating patterns, like cloths, and I was specifically looking at like the king's kind of like throne, I guess. There was like a cheetah on the floor, there's like furs, and I was like, wow, this is really luxurious. I was like, it must be nice to be like a chief or a king. So we sat down and they were like, please stand. And we stood up, but then something happened.
Witness Tree Institute out of the United States of America. The idea. I said, when you have a baby, now we're going to begin in 7 years.
then what really stood out to me was when, I don't know what it was they were called, but they were blowing on something, and I feel like in the States, that's like a trumpet. Do you know what I'm talking about? The horns. And I, like, literally, I feel like I said it to Tayin, I'm like, aren't these like the sounds trumpets make at home? Like, no, literally, and it's like, it was like a horn, and like they made like the same sound. Like, that was like so cool. That was like so cool to me. I thought the king was going in a whole different direction. So I'm recording, still recording. And then I realized, like, the king is like next to us. I did see a girl bow, but I did see it. So, I'm continuing to record. You shook his hand. I didn't really pay attention if you bowed because I'm just now recording because I was the next person. So I shook his hand. I thought I did a little bow, but are you supposed to go all the way down? Oh, so yeah, I thought I did a bow, but I shook his hand. He smiled at me. I still have it in my head. And then after that, the military to put your phone down. But I think he was trying to tell me to bow. That's what he told me. But yeah, it just happened so fast. It happened so fast. But my thought was like, I know I didn't bow, but at least he was smiling at me. I don't think he was mad.
At Cape Coast Castle, the group stands on the threshold of painful memory, a place where countless Africans were forced into the transatlantic slave trade.
I've been to museums where they've had replicas of slave ships, and they show you like, oh, this many people were in this room, but actually being there is a totally different feeling. You can feel it. So at Cape Coast, I felt a profound sadness. And it's two-layered for me because it's not only me thinking about this is the history of my ancestors, but just that these were people. Like, even beyond the fact that yes, I feel a connection here. I can see them here. I can feel you here. But it could have been anybody. Even if we don't share the same ancestry or history, like, we're all connected as humans. So the idea that one human could do that to another human, which is really because they didn't see the humanity in them. That's where it starts. You don't see them as humans, so you can justify that type of treatment.
Kind of like what I wrote in my blog, I felt really fortunate to be there. I don't know how many multiracial groups visit the Cape Coast Castle together. I felt like it was an act of grace that I was allowed to be there with the Ghanaians and with the African Americans in our group.
I felt like pressure, or like something was squeezing me. My body was like not wanting to move forward. They say that you can have ancestral trauma in your DNA. And so maybe being there was like a switch that activated that, but I was feeling a lot like I don't want to be here.
I saw my American friends, both African American and white Americans. I realized that everybody was in that sorrowful state. And if my brothers and sisters are weeping, I need to weep with them. So I just had that connection, and tears just ran down my eyes.
In a solemn ceremony of remembrance, Participants whose ancestors endured slavery gathered in the cell for condemned rebellious Africans to honor both the pain and the resilience that echoed through these dungeon walls. The group pays tribute not just to the memory of their ancestors, but also the continued spirit of resistance and hope.
We remember the souls taken from this land, mothers and fathers, daughters and sons. Names lost to time but never forgotten.
That place, when you first walk in, it's like a cell, and it was really small and cramped. It's super hot, it's humid, and it's not somewhere you want to be in for a long time. But when we went in for the ceremony, I decided to choose my grandma because she's really important to me. And she passed away during COVID. It was like really traumatic because I don't think my family expected to lose her at that time. And she was like the glue. So she like held everyone together. She was like the matriarch of the family. And when she passed away, like everything changed. So, you know, we don't get together as much. I chose her because I feel like I just needed like her strength in that moment. And I feel like there's been so many signs that while I'm here that she's like with me, especially in a place where I felt like comfortable and accepted. And all that's like, I think it's a hard place to be. I think she was the person that I wanted to be there with me.
I'm in Ghana. I've never been to the castle before to even go to that place to see what they went through. So it got me emotional. I cried that day. I wept that day. It's a lot of suffering over there.
And the tour guide said African leaders or Ghanaians participated a bit or in some way in the slavery. I felt guilty, but at the end of the day, we were happy to hear that some chiefs from Ghana, and I think the Parliament of Ghana in 2006, came out to officially apologize to everyone in the world for their role that they played in the slavery. And I think personally too, I have done that. I've forgiven myself, forgiving my ancestors for taking such steps.
And today, we have moved away from slavery in chains and shackles to mental slavery. And that is what Garvey told us, and Bob Marley reiterated, that we should emancipate ourselves from mental slavery, because none other than ourselves can free our minds.
At Donko Nsuo, the river of the enslaved, the educators pay homage to the spirits of those who were taken and to those who found their way home. It is here that enslaved Africans had their last bath before reaching the dungeons of Cape Coast and Elmina.
Every night when the sun goes down, I hang down my head and mournful cry. I wish the Lord my train would come. I wish the Lord my train would come. I wish the Lord my train would. The experiences that we've had together, it has been in such an authentic and an organic way that I have never experienced before. That it's been more impactful than anything I've experienced in my life.
And then as a writer, like I just want to make sure that as a creator that I'm writing stories that connect the two, like the Black experience and the African experience. So I already have book ideas in my head where I'm like, I want to blend the two.
And now I feel like I have somewhere that I could say is home. And I'm accepted. And it's not like I don't have a history. So, yeah.
I'm going to miss my new friends and family.
When I go back home, like, I feel like my perception on people is just going to change because it's like, in Ghana, people are so nice. Why do I have to deal with people that are like rude in my life? You know what I mean?
It was a really rich experience. You talk about having transformative learning, and I felt like my whole self was engaged, in the experience, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, physically, in a lot of different ways. So
The American cohorts were mostly curious about the text of the songs we sang. And mostly when we explained to them, they started to compare that to normal life situations. And that stood out for me as a musician.
From West Africa to America, from past to present, the bridge of learning continues. Because every lesson, every story, every connection brings us closer to understanding who we truly are. We all become witness trees of hope and peace.